Welcome in. It's a Clippers Talk Live. I'm Adam Oslin. Good to be back with you guys. If you missed it yesterday, we did a couple of shows. One earlier in the day where I was breaking down some film in the live section, talking about the last 4 minutes of the ball game where the Clippers let go of a 9-point lead in Game 1 at Intuit Dome in that overtime thriller that they would eventually lose to the Phoenix Suns. So check out a little bit of a film breakdown for you. Then it turned into Carl Tart, who happened to be in the chat, jumping in with me here. And then we had the breaking news from the former trainer with the Clippers and Kawhi, as JJ the Boy says first here. We discussed that a little bit, discussed it more later last night on a show with Jamal Christopher, which was really great to have him on. We also talked about Jordan Miller, KPJ, his thoughts coming out of Game 1 and where he's at with this team and what the expectations are, and what he thinks about the situation with Kawhi Leonard and when he could return. So Jamal Christopher yesterday, a little bit of Carl Tart, the trainer lawsuit. We talked about all of that, plus went through with a fine-tooth comb regarding the Clippers and how they would find a way to lose that game when they were up by 9 with 3:52 left against the Phoenix Suns. Clips or Die said, yo, Adam, was just watching Clips and Dip episode from yesterday. What's up, Clips or Die? Appreciate that. We also did that later last night. I was on with Chuck Mockler, Will Updike, Clips and Dip. That was happening. We discussed some of the same topics. And one of the ones I'm going to get into a little bit here, which is, I don't know, my first Clippers Talk live game preview. I didn't really do one for the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, we talked about it pregame at Intuit Dome. We got to it then. Tomorrow, the Clippers will be in Denver for this one. JJ the Boy said he's excited for tomorrow's game. 2 p.m. tip, kind of strange. Is that World Series related? I have no idea. But pregame starting at 1. I think we'll have it on the Patriot AM 1150. Let me see what time the World Series game. It has to be at 5, right? Tomorrow? Yeah, 5:08 tip. So they won all basketball games ending before that. Is that going to happen, or is it just the Clippers game? I don't know. Mikey Lapp said, what's up? Ready for Clippers talk. Bonesaw said third. I'm not used to seeing something that's cogent and a response that actually makes sense from Bonesaw instead of him just saying, is Brian Seaman? Typically, he just starts with that. I think it's a little inside joke we've had going here. But I want to bring you inside Clippers practice today before we get to the preview and talk about the Denver Nuggets and look at the other side, what the Clippers are up against tomorrow to try to get their first victory of the season. It's also the front end of a back-to-back. They'll be in San Francisco on Sunday taking on the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. Not an easy start to the season. I know some people are already talking about, could they start 0-3? Well, they got to get one this weekend. David Stegner said something off topic. Just wanted to say thank you for your great work. You're part of my daily Clippers dose. Appreciate you, David. Really do. As we are daily, in season, 7 days a week now, on Clippers Talk. A new show every single day. Alex Webb is jumping ahead a little bit, talking about we match up well with Denver. Let's take advantage of their poor outside shooting. I'll discuss that. Micah Ross said, I hope everything is going okay with Kawhi Leonard. Me too. So first, I want you to hear from Law Murray, who was at practice talking with Coach Lou, as a little bit of a wrap-up of some of the issues and some of the flaws in the Clippers game against the Phoenix Suns. So I'm going to play some audio for you where they didn't stick to the game plan well enough or limit enough turnovers. This was, I don't know, just about an hour and a half ago from Coach Lou at practice as I share the screen here. And again, this is coming from La Murray. You'll hear him in the video. I have more from players also.
I don't want to say breakdowns, but like we mentioned after the game, there's some things defensively that went into playing smarter, just like offensively. Like I felt like they got a lot of threes early, took those away. How do you kind of balance like taking away certain things that the offense wants to do with what you want to do as far as being physical, being aggressive, and all that?
I think for us, just to not get caught up in the game and who you're guarding. I think you guard Bradley Beal or Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. As the game went along, we kind of start inching out more to our man and gave them more space to play. I think still be able to be in the strength, still be an aggressive, strong in the basketball, and we kind of lost lost our way. I think when the game, got closer and got into the fourth quarter. So just sticking with the game plan, I think that's one. I think another thing is just, not fouling 60 feet away from the basket, while they're in the bonus, giving them free baskets and free points, and not fouling as much. Like, we gave up, I think, 13 points in overtime. I think 10 of them was free throws.
And they all 10 of them in the overtime.
Yeah.
Were there things that you noticed after looking at the game that you didn't quite see Wednesday night live?
No.
Is that a good thing for you? Like, you felt like you took it all in, and when you saw the film back, it was like, all right.
Yeah, I thought, offensively what hurt us is, 22 turnovers and it's the careless turnovers, like the lob passes, the long, full court passes. Like, when you're being aggressive, you drive to the basket, you dropping the ball off, and they steal it. Like, I can take those turnovers because you're being aggressive. But the ones where you just, with casually throwing long passes or, bad passes, then you can't live with those. And so we just got to clean those things up. About 9 of those passes that we could have eliminated. So that takes you from 22 turnovers to 13. Now we get 9 more shots at the basket. So we got to be better.
So that was from La Murray. Again, give him a follow at La Murray, the NU, talking with Coach Lou earlier today. Played for you from X. So a couple things here. He talked about the lack of game plan discipline defensively, as it did kind of erode at times. If you watch that breakdown I did of the last 4 minutes, the Clippers got scattered defensively, stretched out, and it was the Phoenix Suns getting some easy ones in transition that really hurt them, that cut into that lead quickly. As Kevin Durant got a couple of layups, so did Tyus Jones. Wasn't just three-pointers, and there was a big one from Devin Booker right after the Clippers went up by 9 with 3:52 left. But he talked about them getting away from their principles and their game plan discipline not being good enough there defensively, where guys were not shrinking the floor as much as they were earlier in the game. That has to be better. And that will come with time, but the Clippers don't have a lot of time either, I think. Every game is so crucial for a team that I think is going to be, somewhere between 6 and 10. Somewhere where they could be fighting, depending on how many games Kawhi Leonard plays, just to try to stay in the play-in in the Western Conference. We'll see if they can stay afloat here. But then at the end, Coach Lou was talking about the careless turnovers. Those can't happen. You have over 20 turnovers in a ball game like they did against Phoenix the other night. That was disappointing to see, but it also tracked with what we had seen in the preseason, where they were averaging, I think outside of one game, they were averaging 20 turnovers per game. And James Harden and his turnover issues, he had 8 of those 21 or 22 turnovers, depending on the box score you look at from the other night in the overtime game. He struggled with turnovers, averaging 6 per game in the preseason. We all said, hey, we don't care. It's James Harden. He'll figure it out. But then he had some bad miscues, a lob entry pass to the post to Ivica Zubac that was taken away by Tyus Jones, for example. That was just a lazy, careless, maybe fatigue influence type of pass. So that's a little bit of the fallout coming out of that Phoenix game, and maybe they can tighten some of that stuff up. And yeah, there was an answer from La Murray regarding everybody asking why they didn't introduce Kawhi Leonard or Bones Highland during player introductions. They couldn't find them. Night 1 at Intuit Dome, some mistakes were going to happen. There weren't many. Still, for the most part, everything went off without a hitch, and fans were extremely impressed with the environment, the atmosphere, the technology being used. Mikey Ramirez wants to talk about Jordan Miller possibly getting playing time, asking for several Clippers friends. I'll say this. If KPJ continues to struggle, and it's only one game, but he went 1 for 8, I think at that point you have to try Jordan Miller or Bones Highland. We'll see. It's early. I would like to see, and I've told you this, I am a proponent of playing Jordan Miller now. When they went through that 6-minute stretch in the second quarter where they couldn't score, they couldn't get anything to go, I would have loved to see if Jordan Miller could inject some life into their offense in that second quarter against Phoenix. Just give him a little bit of run, see what happens. But look, there's always politics involved. There are guys who are more proven than him at this level on this team, and you have to give them a shot first and multiple attempts before you start pulling vets out of the lineup. It's not as easy as just play Jordan Miller. Okay, who's not playing then in that situation? Most of you would have said Amir Coffey coming into that game against Phoenix. Guess what? Amir was huge, clutch with his defense guarding KD. I know he still hit the tough fadeaway jumper, but also a huge three-pointer. He went 4 for 4, 2 of 2 from the outside. So Jordan Miller, while being tested right now because Amir Coffey being tested because Jordan Miller might be pushing him a little bit, he passed the test with flying colors. Okay. So let's get into Denver. We'll hear from Terrence Mann and Norman Powell coming up in just a little bit. We'll hear from, it was Law Murray who had that, and also Joey Lynn had them talking about going up against Russell Westbrook. I'll play that audio for you. The Denver Nuggets are a different team, as everyone is this time of the year, and everyone has this new way of playing. At least it starts off with emphasizing certain things that we didn't do well the year before, and how are we going to change that? Denver's no different, even though they're just a year removed from winning the championship, and a Game 7 where they led by 20 against Minnesota in the second round, let them come back on them at home. I know they're disappointed. Now, some of the headlines, of course, what are the headlines, man? Are Russell Westbrook being on this team. But I want to talk about some other guys first and just give you the overview of what Denver has been in the past and maybe the direction they're trying to move to now under Mike Malone with the way they're trying to play out there. So last season, the Denver Nuggets, 5th offensively, 8th defensively. They had the 4th best net rating in the NBA. But they also played at a very slow pace, I believe even slower than the Clippers. They were 26th in pace last season. Slow, methodical. Jamal Murray, I think, brought the ball up slower than anyone from the backcourt to the front court in the league last season, and that is one of the reasons they brought in Russell Westbrook to try to juice up the offense with him coming off the bench and just get into their sets a little bit faster and not take so long. Yeah, the Clippers were 20th in pace. Denver Nuggets were 26th in pace just this last season. So they're trying to adjust there. They're trying to play a little bit faster. And yeah, I'll talk about the game last night against Oklahoma City where they pretty much got blown out at home. And they're going to be extremely difficult and hungry tomorrow of a stiff challenge for the Clippers to try to go in there after they lost that game in Denver, which they don't lose many games there in the manner they did to OKC last night. It just makes them even tougher for the Clippers. I was rooting for Denver to win last night just so maybe they'd have a letdown afterwards. But now I'm sure Mike Malone has their attention, and they're going to be more locked in against the Clippers. Believe that. But they lost KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is a 2-time champion in this league, and obviously a former Laker, but won with them in 2020 and then won with the Denver Nuggets and was lights out for them during their run to the finals and through the Lakers in 4 games through the Western Conference Finals to eventually taking out the Miami Heat in 5 games. He's been awesome. He's been very consistent from the outside. Last season for them, he shot 40% from 3, 4 takes per game. The season before that, 42%. The season before that, 39% in Washington. And then the last season with LA, 41%. That's a big loss. He goes to the Orlando Magic, who need more scoring threats, who need a little bit more pop on offense. I think he got, what was it, guys? That KCP deal was like $60 million. Let me see here. Deal with Orlando. I want to say, 3 years, $66 million. So just a little over 21 per season. Great deal for KCP. But that loss will be felt by a team that was already starved for shooting. Because here's the other thing about the Denver Nuggets. They took the fewest amount of threes per game last season at just 31. Now, if you were transported from the 90s right now into today in 2024, you'd be like 31 threes and they're last in the league in attempts? That's insane. Yeah, that's where the league has gone. The Clippers were at 34 threes attempted per game last season. I think they're both trying to get the amount of attempts up. But especially because Denver ended up shooting 37% from the outside, just over that. That's 10th percentage-wise, but they were 30th with the amount of attempts. So here's Nikola Jokic, and I found this from Tomer Azarli of Clutch Points yesterday post-game after they would lose 102-87 at home to the OKC Thunder in their home opener, talking about, they just lack shooting. And you know, Nico, he's going to be blunt and honest about how his team is and where they struggle.
Turn the page, don't worry about the next game, the shots will get better, or is there something you look at specifically?
I mean, we don't shoot the ball really. We are not good shooting team, I think. Except on Mike and Jamal. We are not like, all of us are like kind of streaky, not streaky, but just average shooters. So, that we have something else.
So I saw it from Tomer Azarli there, but I should say where the original tweet came from as he gave the retweet. It was Rachel Strand who had the video. She's a beat reporter for Clutch Points covering the Denver Nuggets there. I said Nico earlier. Nikola Jokic talked about how we don't shoot the ball really well. We're not a good shooting team except for Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray. All of us are kind of streaky. Not streaky, but, just average shooters. English, not his first language, still speaks very well. That is their weakness. But they also were able to win a championship while I think being bottom 10 in three-point shooting. And that happened just a year ago. So how do they do it? They have Nikola Jokic. He scores for them. They get a ton of points in the paint, and they have some really deadly mid-range shooters like Jamal Murray. Just ask Anthony Davis and Lakers fans every time in the playoffs. He had 2 game winners against them last season. He is just a killer against them. He plays like he's still in the bubble going up against Donovan Mitchell in that first-round series against the Jazz whenever he sees the Lakers. I do have concerns, though, as many do, over Jamal Murray in just how it's not just Kawhi who's had his issues recovering from the ACL. Granted, Jamal did his ACL at a younger age and came back and won a championship with them and was huge. And that 2-man game in the pick and roll, it is the best in the game with him and Nikola Jokic. He didn't look good for Canada movement-wise this summer. I have some concerns about Jamal Murray. Wes Trueblood said, Adam, you were going live all the time. Great content. As always, keep up the great work. Well, I enjoy talking with you guys. That is the thing here. Jonathan Ing says something I do want to talk about, which is somewhat false. Ing, you're exaggerating a little bit. He said, well, okay, see, he's making a prediction. Sorry. I was false. You're saying if Zoo and Jokic neutralize each other with their output scoring-wise, the battle should be the three-point battle. Their transition game should tire them out sooner because of altitude. Should tire who out? Because the Clippers getting out in transition can be tiring too. That works both ways. As good as Ivica Zubac has been, guys, when it comes to his defense against Nikola Jokic, and he is the best in the league at defending him. That is not hyperbole. These are the facts. In fact, I will play you something I made recently about Big Zoo. If I can find it in time here, I put together a little ticky-talk thing with Ivica Zubac. And yeah, it was Coach Lou who was talking about him recently. And yeah, I have it right here for you. I'll share the screen. And this is really high praise, obviously. Coach Lou saying that Big Zoo should be gunning for Defensive Player of the Year. That's how talented he is on that end. And I've been singing his praises forever. His first season with the Clippers, guys, he was the #1 defender within 6 feet of the rim. He's always top 5 there. So here's Coach Lou talking about what Zoo should be shooting for this year. And you'll see the stat go by, and I'll pause it there. When it comes to defending Nikola Jokic, there's no one better, and he's better by a mile high, 5,280 feet.
just shooting for trying to be defensive player of the year. You know, like that. I think he's that good. He can blitz. You know, sometimes he can switch. He's good in deep drops, up the touch. You know, so I just think.
So, can anyone stop Nikola Jokic is the stat. This is from, I think, this is the last 5 seasons, including playoffs. Defending Jokic in one-on-one plays in isolation. So, I'll go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 guys here on this list. The top 13 guys defending Jokic. Jonas Valanciunas. Jokic against him gets 1.43 points per possession in isolation against him. He's very efficient against him. Against Rudy Gobert, you jump up a couple. 1.29 points per possession in isolation against Rudy Gobert, the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, who was at Game 5 where Jokic went off for 40 points in that playoff series against Minnesota and just embarrassed Gobert at times. Against Anthony Davis, against AD, he's getting 1.26 points per possession in isolation against him. Jump up a little bit. Bam Adebayo, very good defender. Only 1.09 points per possession against him. Jump up a little bit higher. He's getting 1 point per possession in isolation against Jusuf Nurkic. Against Ivica Zubac, he's not getting 1 point. It's closer to half a point. He's only getting 0.68 points per possession in isolation plays, one-on-one against Ivica Zubac over the last 5 seasons, including playoffs. That is insane. Now, having said that, is Jokic going for 50 tomorrow on Big Zoo? Maybe. I don't feel great about that always holding up. But you can't say enough about the job Ivica Zubac has been able to do against Nikola Jokic. It's God tier. Nobody else is close. The closest guy is, what is that? 0.32 points per possession more in isolation more than Ivica Zubac is giving up, with only 0.68 points in isolation one-on-one given up to Nikola Jokic. Big Zoo is him. If you ever hear any Big Zoo slander, you might want to bring that video up to them and educate them a little bit, because he's the best defender against one of the toughest guys to guard in the league ever. And in the post, in isolation, Big Zoo has more than held his own. But Jonathan Ing said, if Zoo and Jokic neutralize each other with their output scoring-wise. So let's look at Jokic versus Zubac games head-to-head and just see. Now, I know Big Zoo, I believe, has had his game high in his career against Nikola Jokic. The problem with what you said, Jonathan Ing, is we're not just talking about that one game where Ivica Zubac was incredible. In fact, I want to find it for you here. But this goes all the way back, this matchup data, to 2017. So we can take it a little bit further. Both guys have developed since then. Zubac and Jokic were what? Both rookies? They come out in the same year. Let's go to the 2019-20 season. Nikola Jokic. This was January 12th of 2020. 20 points. Big Zoo 6. Next game in February that year. 21. 10. Next game, 17-15. Okay, he held his own there. But we can move forward even further now. That's still too far back because Jokic has won 3 MVPs and a Finals MVP since then. The 21-22 season, Nikola Jokic, first game, December 26th, had 26 points. Big Zoo was 17. Not bad. January 11th, though, of 2022, 21 points. Ivica Zubac just 2. Then the game I was talking about where Big Zoo, I think this is still his career high. Maybe not. Maybe he surpassed this now. I got to double check on this. January 19th of 2022, an overtime thriller where Denver would win by 2 at 130-128. Nikola Jokic with 49 points. Ivica Zubac with 32. Next time they met, it didn't transfer. Denver won 127-115 in March. The other game was in January of 2022. And this time Jokic had 30 and Ivica Zubac just 6. So outside of that one game, for the most part, it has been Jokic playing very good and outscoring Ivica Zubac. Now, has he had to take more shots to score, though? Might be your point. That's accurate. That's accurate because Nikola Jokic, head-to-head against him, he's only averaging 23 points versus Zubac. You'll sign up for that. For a guy this good? Zubac against him is only averaging 8 points, though. And he has made Jokic work. And in fact, last season, guys, Jokic had 2 of the worst games of his career. First, the game November 14th. Denver still won. It was a cup game, 111 to 108. Jokic was 8 for 23. His next contest against Big Zoo, yeah, he got 32 points, but 8 of 23. The second game, head-to-head last season, December 6th, the Clippers did win that one. Jokic was 9 for 32. He shot 28% for his career. I think that is the worst shooting game of his entire career. And Big Zoo, he held him to that. He was awesome. 9 of 32. The last game of the season between those two, the one the Clippers won without Kawhi Leonard, as the second one there, they won with him. But the last game on April 4th, Jokic was 14 to 24, so almost 60% from the field, played much better, and ended up with 36 points. But the 9 for 32 performance with only 22 points, that was special. You have to let Big Zood hear it, that he is as good as anybody against Nikola Jokic in the league. Does that mean he's going to be able to slow him down tomorrow after Jokic had a bad game with only 16 points and still had a triple-double against the Thunder in that 102-87 loss last night, still had 12 boards, still had 13 assists? No. He might go off for 30-plus. He might cook Zoo. When he's on, there are not many people in NBA history that could slow him down. Okay. So Jonathan Ing said, Clippers are better equipped at defending off ball, so got to watch out for their cutters. Sure. But I'm still going back to if Zoo and Jokic neutralize each other, that just hasn't happened very often in their history. Again, Zoo is the best guy against Jokic, but very few times, even when he makes Jokic work for it, Ivica Zubac comes close to matching him points-wise. This season could be different. He's going to get more run. So I get what you're saying, and Jonathan Ing follows up saying Jokic's best skill is his passing ability. So that is what scares me more because the Nuggets run a lot of off-ball movement to leverage Jokic's passing. I would say his passing ability is his most unique skill for a guy that big, but I still think his best skill is his touch around the rim. I would still say that. Jonathan Ing said that was my prognostication. Joker struggles against Zoo because Zoo defends him so well, hence why I think the passing is what scares me most. Okay. And then finally he said, if Zoo gets into foul trouble again, the Joker will cook Kai. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Strato says, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate the love and the help here. Bonesaw said, got to stop Aaron Gordon. Who will guard him? Who will box out? I want to say Aaron Gordon versus the Clippers has been a problem, and especially was last year where he's had some really good games because that's the guy that ends up in the dunker spot that Jokic finds with these no-look passes, and it is really, really annoying. You do everything right in the possession. You stop Jokic, and somehow he gets this crazy pass off. So here were the games against the Clippers last year as I pull up the splits from Aaron Gordon, and I'll get to what he averaged here against your Los Angeles Clippers. Okay, it wasn't crazy. Ooh. Yeah, it wasn't crazy. 15 points per game, 54% shooting, 25% from three. But I do want to say if I go into the game log, he had at least one really big game against the Clippers last year. The last game they played, he only had 18. Let's see. What else do we got here? They only played each other, 3 times last year? I'm still getting used to looking for the Clippers logo because it's changed. He had an 8-point game against them and a 20-point game. Maybe it was the 20-point game I was thinking of. So still not crazy numbers. And it's interesting, if you watch Aaron Gordon, we talked about the 3-point shooting earlier. You know, there was a time where I thought he might get a lot better on that end when he came to Denver, because while they aren't emphasizing it, they could use it from him. And I suppose he's just good enough in that offense where it doesn't matter because he's so good at catching those lobs from Jokic and being in the dunker spot. But if you remember, Aaron Gordon in his last season with Orlando, he shot 38% from three on almost 5 attempts per game. My thinking was, oh, he's going to Denver now. He's going to see more open shots. It didn't necessarily materialize that way, but his defense and what he does provide offensively and the hustle plays and him being a glue guy and turning into that type of player in the league. When we thought when he came out, he might be a, Blake Griffin light out there. He's an elite role player. He's great for them. That Mexican Nara said Zoo has a bigger role in the offense this year, though. This is a fair point. Like I said, he might get a lot more touches in this game against Jokic. Mikey Lapp is saying Murray struggled last night. He couldn't get by his defenders. He doesn't look right. The explosiveness doesn't seem to be there at the moment. Mikey Lapp said Zoo cannot get into foul trouble this game. That is a very good point. Mio said Joker ain't a top-tier defender. If Zoo can make him work on defense, he could be tired on offense. He's not top-tier, but he's way better than everybody realizes, honestly. He's often in the right spot, and people think because he's not a good athlete, he can't be a great rim protector. Let's see defense within 6 feet last year, as I always tout how good Big Zoo is, and he finished first in the league when it came to defense and opponent field goal percentage within 5 feet last year. Let's see where Nikola Jokic ended up last season in that area, because a lot of the advanced stats say he is a good team defender. He is in position a lot of the time. While he's not some amazing athlete, he is more than serviceable on that end, especially when he has to ramp up. I'll say this, though. His defensive field goal percentage last season, 65%. That's not good. For reference, Ivica Zubac led the league in that area. He was only giving up 52% to guys within 6 feet at the rim. Nobody was better. 65% is not good. I want to go back a season here with Jokic, or maybe I should check his playoff numbers in this area. Now we'll go back to the 22-23 season, and I want to see where he ended up at in that area, if I can find it. Zubac was at 54% just last year. I'm telling you guys, he's top 5 in this area every year, and Zoo haters are clueless. Honestly, they can't back their stuff up. Oh, his hands of stone. Well, why doesn't he average like 5 turnovers per game then, if his hands are so bad? Is Jokic not even on here? I got to scroll over pages. That could be bad for this stat for him. I want to see what his numbers were at. So, yeah, his number the year before was also at 65%. Within 6 feet of the rim, the opponent was shooting 65%. So, I guess it's fair. I wonder if in the playoffs, if I go to last year in the playoffs, are his numbers better when it comes to within 6 feet of the rim, Nikola Jokic? I want to see that here, because I've seen him 61%, so slightly better, almost 4% better in that area, but not elite. So I suppose the point can stand here from Mio that he's not top tier. He's not Embiid, and that was always the conversation between those two when it came to MVP. Who's the better rim protector? It's clearly Embiid. But Jokic, what he does, I think, is more important, which is control an entire offense. It's a point center. That's who he is. He's not just the greatest passing center ever, guys. He's a top 10 passer, period. Any position. His vision is crazy. Kimu LA Clippers said, we need to get the split this weekend. Completely agree with you. Reezy got a burner, said dunk contest rematch. Let's see who ends up with more dunks. You're talking about Derrick Jones Jr. and Aaron Gordon. Jonathan Ing said Aaron Gordon is a matchup problem for the Clippers also because of his size and physicality. Kawhi is the best guy to match up size-wise. Yeah, he actually is one of the best covers for Kawhi in the league. I've been telling people that for a while. But DJ and T-Man may get out-physicaled, outworked. Aaron Gordon does that. Again, he only averaged 15 points per game against the Clippers last season. I thought it was worse. His best game was 20 points against them. So he averaged 3 more points, or maybe no, make it 1 more point per game against the Clippers than he did against, overall the rest of the league. When you look at, he shot 13, or he scored 13.9 points per game. So it wasn't like he's some, Clipper killer to the extent that I thought, but he could be tomorrow. That Mexican Nar said, I'm worried about the Jordan Kai matchup. The Jordan Kai matchup. Can you expand on that? Jonathan Ing said Jokic is a bad pick and roll defender, but it depends on the opposing guard. Yeah, you would hope James Harden and Zubac can expose that matchup. Reezy got a burner, said Nuggets fans saying Jamal might struggle versus Chris Dunn and Terrence Mann. Yeah, Jamal, if you can't stop Jokic, sometimes this is what Coach Lou says. I remember he said this against Luka Doncic. He can pass, and guys can hit shots against us that are wide open. He can also score, but you can't let him do both. You can't let him be the individual out there getting his 30-plus while also getting 12 assists. Make him one-dimensional. That's what you have to do against superstars like this that can do everything. That makes sense. JJ the Boy said, I'm hoping for some Miller minutes here. I don't know if they're happening this early in the season, but if they really struggle, I wouldn't put it past Coach Lou to put him in. But I get the argument. You take out one of those vets, and let's say Miller struggles and he doesn't look good, and you give him a couple games, and then you have to take him out and tell that vet, my bad, let's get you back in here. Might lose the locker room with him, or might lose his attention, and then Jordan Miller might lose his confidence. These are things you have to consider. I think you got to give guys a little bit more time. That's why Coach Lou typically goes with a 10-game sample. Would I do it? Probably. But I'm not in his position. He's got to make those tough calls. Link said the Nuggets going to show up extra hungry. I hope the Clips are ready. I agree with you. I was rooting for them to win that game against Oklahoma City last night because I was worried if they lost, and they lost badly, they lost by 15, that they would be even more motivated to get their lick back, as Patrick Beverly would say, or to get right. And they might be looking at the Clippers like a get-right game and opponent, which is scary. That Mexican Nara said DeAndre Jordan and Kai. Oh, Kai will be outworked. You're saying DeAndre Jordan. Okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, DeAndre, I mean, he's serviceable, but he's much older now. The other guy that could find himself against Kai is Dario Saric. Now, he's had injury issues ever since he tore his ACL in the 2021 playoffs. It might have been early in the finals against Milwaukee when he was playing for the Phoenix Suns. But he played 60 games last year, 64 to be exact, against the Golden State Warriors, Dario Saric. He's a stretch big. He shot 37% from 3 last year. He looks good. I like that pickup for them. That might be someone that, I would go with Nico Batum at the 5 if Dario Saric is out there instead of Kai Jones. We will see what Coach Lou elects to do. But we talked about their three-point shooting and finishing last in attempts last season, the Denver Nuggets, and trying to change that. But then we heard from Jokic saying, we just don't have those type of shooters. We're average. But they did shoot 37% from 3 last season. They just didn't take that many. So that was good enough for 10th. Can Christian Braun, who's now in the starting lineup with them, who got the start and had 16 points for them yesterday, but went 0-3 from 3, I'm sure he won't do that against the Clippers, of course. Can he be that guy for them to help them there with the starters? He has to take threes because last season he averaged 2 3-pointers attempted per game. Christian Braun, I should say. It reads Braun, but it's Brown. He shot 38% from 3 last year in his second year. And obviously he had some big moments for them during their run to the championship the year before. But then there's another guy off the bench that we have to be aware of with this Denver Nuggets team. And it's Julian Strawther, who lit up the Summer League and the preseason. In fact, in the preseason, in their 5 games, Strawther averaged 19 points per game in his 28 minutes per game in the preseason, and no one scored more points than him total in the preseason with 94. He's a bucket, guys. He's tough. Out of Gonzaga, I believe. Yeah. He led them his last year, I think, with 80 made three-pointers. He projects as a three-point shooter. In the preseason, he shot 53% from the field and 50% from three, 80% from the line. But it's not just the preseason. He shot well in summer league too. He only played in a couple of games, and by the way, he had a 33-point game in their final preseason game on just 13 shots. In the summer league, Strother, he averaged 28 points in his 2 games. He led all players in scoring average. He knocked down 41% of his three-pointers, making almost 5 per game in his 2 appearances in the summer league, where I think the Denver Nuggets were like, he's too good for this, Julian Strother. He's their scoring punch coming off the bench. Make no mistake, Russell Westbrook is out there to help set the table, but Julian Strother, that's the guy that scares me. And Russ is going to be on his revenge game stuff, of course, here. But Julian Strother ended up last night, by the way, against OKC. He only played 17 minutes. He did go 0 of 2 from 3 of 6 overall, but he can score. He's very dynamic with his shot profile. He's quick. He's 6'6". He's an instant offense type of guy out there. And I think they're looking for about 14 points per game this season with him coming off the bench. We'll see. That's a big part of what they need. Peyton Watson obviously was really good for them last season out of UCLA, but he had a bad game last night, 1 of 7, and is more of that defender, slasher, rim runner type energy guy. So they have some interesting pieces on this Denver Nuggets team that they're trying to implement and change up a little bit of what they do and emphasize different of the game to make up for losing KCP. They need to find somebody else that's a more reliable three-point shooter. They might have to do it by committee, but Christian Brown, Julian Strother, 2 guys to watch there. Russell Westbrook obviously airballed his first three-pointer, and we know his first shot is Denver Nugget. He's not great in that area. They just want him to speed up the pace because they were 26th there last season. Here was Norman Powell earlier today at practice. If I can share the screen for you. This is also coming from La Murray of The Athletic. Here was Terrence Mann next to Norman Powell talking about the Denver Nuggets, kind of what to expect from them this year.
What did you guys, if anything, notice about how Denver has been playing this month, especially last night if y'all watched?
I think anytime you got new pieces, a new team, you're trying to fit them in. And like every team to start the season, you're trying to see how it gels together. Preseason is a little different. Not everybody's getting true minutes. Some guys playing the first quarter, first half, not playing at all for rest. So I think, they're still trying to find their groove, the same with us. But, they're a dangerous team. They've got tons of experience. They won it all. They know how to play the game of basketball. They've been playing together for a minute in that core group with Murray, Jokic, and Gordon, and Porter. So they're a threat. So, we got to be able to be tied in collectively. Whoever's on the floor, offensively, defensively, it's not one guy guarding Jokic. It's not one guy guarding Murray or Porter. It's everybody. So our foundation and our rotations and our talk has to be great on the defensive end.
Again, that was earlier today. Audio coming from La Murray of The Athletic. I'll let you hear from both of them talking about Russell Westbrook, and revenge will be on his mind. That's going to happen. But it's a very dangerous team, especially coming off a loss at home like that, where they got shellacked by a team that I've been saying all summer is going to win 60 games in OKC. And yeah, they might be taking on Boston in the finals. Jonathan Ing said Kai got to improve his defense from the Phoenix game for the game versus the Nuggets. He looked a bit lost, even with the good offensive contributions. I think Nico against DeAndre should be a good look at the 5. Yeah, you could go Nico against DeAndre too, but again, Dario Saric is going to play some. Kai actually had a moment where Nico was not berating him, but instructing him after a misplay where he was so far in drop, even after the switch where Nico was guarding the big and Kai didn't come up to contest a wide open jumper that was made. I forget who knocked it down for the Suns, but it's the learning curve of a young player, and Nico Batum let him know, hey, that's your guy. That's your assignment. We switched. JJ the boy said, we'll need Norm's three-point shooting or efficient offense in general and give Westbrook the Ben Simmons treatment when he's on the floor. I'm not sure what that means. Don't guard him. Like, make the Denver Nuggets have to play 4-on-5 on offense, like teams did to the Clippers over the past year with Russell Westbrook, who just went 8 for 42 the last 5 games as a Clipper in that series against the Dallas Mavericks and set the all-time inefficiency record over a 5-game period in playoff history. Yeah, I was hoping for more from Russ there. But I don't believe the front office was really hoping to bring him in anyways, and it was a Paul George power move. I don't know. Because it didn't seem like he was the type of guy that they were looking for at the point guard position, and that's why they brought in James Harden right afterwards. Stratos said, Westbrook, revenge? The Clippers should show him revenge for how he shot in the playoffs. 8 for 42 the last 5 games against Dallas. Nobody's ever been worse shooting-wise over a 5-game stretch. JJ the boy clarifies, said, leave him open on threes. That is what the OKC Thunder did last night when he airballed his first shot ever, top of the arc three-pointer as a member of the Denver Nuggets. Russ ended up going 2 for 10, 1 of 6 from 3. My God, he got up 6 three-pointers? Really? Whew. He scored 6 points, had 5 assists, had a steal, 2 blocks, a turnover, and was minus 24 in his 21 minutes. Minus 24 in 21 minutes is not easy. I expect him to play much better against the Clippers, just like Denver overall. That's who Russ is. If anything, he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and sometimes it works against him. He's competitive to a fault, is what I usually say for him. So here were a couple of his former teammates on Russell Westbrook. This comes from Joey Lynn today at practice. Want to make sure to highlight our great reporters here doing the work. Here, let's go back to Terrence Mann and Norm Powell.
It's about playing tomorrow. I mean, for me, he's one of the best teammates I ever had. He brought intensity on and off the court, so it's great to be around him. But just looking forward to that competitive nature tomorrow that he's going to bring to the game. I know he's going to be super excited, so it's going to be a fun one.
Terrence, has there been any banter with Russ leading up to this game?
Nah, not at all. I'll see him tomorrow. It will be before the game, though, for sure.
Norm, what about you? I know Terrence talked about his relationship with Russ and playing against him. Just what's your thoughts on that matchup tomorrow?
It's gonna be fun. Anytime you get to match up with Russ or a future Hall of Famer, we're looking forward to it. I've known Russ for a long time, being at UCLA, and sharing that brotherhood, and then being able to actually suit up together and talk to him. He's been a great mentor, leader. But I'm excited. The energy and the approach he comes in every game. I'm looking forward to that. I know, like the team man said, he's going to be hyped up and wanting to get a little bit of revenge. He always has that chip on his shoulder. So it's definitely going to be a little back and forth in the game. It's always been, but it's all love. So excited to see him again.
Thanks to Joey Lynn from SI Now for the audio. You can hear these guys still have a great amount of respect and love for their former teammate. Everybody loves playing with Russ. They love his leadership. I think he's obviously problematic at times as a player when he's being out of control and a little bit erratic, but he's a hell of a competitor. They know what's coming tomorrow. And I like the fact that it's going to be testy at times, I'm sure. We know who Russell Westbrook is. People are replying saying, hope Russ shoots 10 3-pointers tomorrow. This is Fashizzle Badizzle saying he ain't scoring on Dunn. Man, that Chris Dunn rip away from Kevin Durant going the other way for the layup was crazy Wednesday night. His defense is special. And yeah, I think that, look, when he was a Laker, they left him wide open. It's not like the Clippers didn't know his flaws coming in. Coach Lue would let him take those threes. Make him play a 4-on-5. Crowd the paint more. Play off of Russ. If he hits 5 3-pointers, shake his hand afterwards. It's that type of thing. Because you got to play the numbers. You got to play the percentages. And he just went 1 for 6. I can't believe he got off 6 3-pointers in game 1. as a member of the Denver Nuggets. In his career, Russell Westbrook is a 30% three-point shooter. He ended up shooting 27% for the Clippers last season. He was better in limited time, just 21 games, his first stint when they brought him in at 36%, but the numbers never hold up over a longer sample size with him. Best season he ever had, he shot 34% when he got the MVP. It's just not what he does. I think part of the reason is he's lost his touch even around the basket is his hands are a little bit mangled. You see that with guys later in their careers. I mean, look at MJ's hands, like just playing ball, hooping. M2564 said, we will keep the Nuggets under 100 points. He's asking. OKC just did it, but I think they're the best team in the Western Conference. I might take them over Boston even. I don't know if their youth and inexperience is going to hold them back this time. They got their taste of the playoffs. They got to the second round. They lost in 6 games, I want to say, to Dallas. But with Alex Caruso now out there, when Isaiah Hartenstein comes back, this is a team more loaded with young talent and assets than any team I've seen in modern NBA history. And they have an MVP candidate who I think is going to win it this year in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 28 last night. So I don't know if they can do, we talk about how good the Clippers can be defensively. I don't think they're a better defense than the OKC Thunder guys. Sorry to say, but OKC last year finished 4th defensively. They're going to be top 5 again. And when they really want to flex on you on that end, they have a ton of switchability. A weak side shot blocker like Chet Holmgren, just incredible. He was giving Jokic some problems last night. Jokic didn't like it. He thought there were some fouls there, but he struggled. Just 16 points for Nico in his 35 minutes. Look for him to bounce back. It could be a wrong place, wrong time type game, having to be in Denver right after this. AM Production says, Harden should have a good shooting game. Nuggets don't have too many defensive wings. That's the other thing about losing KCP. He's a good defender, too. Christian Brown has been solid there. Brown G said, Boston and OKC have no weaknesses. Yeah, I agree with you. OKC used to have one on the boards, but now they have Isaiah Hartenstein, at least when he comes back. Shizzle Badizzle said, need to take advantage of the non-Jokic minutes. That's big. That's big. Mio wants to feel the pain, says, hurts my soul every time I watch Shai and OKC. Shai I'll bring you one more clip here. This is an insane play on one of the better defenders in the league in Aaron Gordon. Once again, highlighted by who else but Law Murray of The Athletic. He clipped this, and I couldn't believe what I saw because we were doing some podcasts last night. I had the game on in the background on TNT with OKC and Denver, and I did not see this. This is as filthy as it gets and might be on his MVP highlight mix coming this season because I think he's going to win it because they're going to be the best team in the Western Conference, and typically the best player on the best team wins the MVP. Look at this.
Had 8 blocks in a game here last year.
Gilgeous-Alexander. Oh, the fake. That's nasty. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
You want to watch that again?
Had 8 blocks in a game here last year.
Stop between the legs. Oh! Yo-yo dribble. Is that a sham god in there or half? Like dancing on a good defender here. Blows past him. Scoop layup. What's funny is Shai isn't an elite athlete. He makes up for it with his skill and his handle. He's a good athlete, but he's not an elite athlete. He doesn't put his head on the rim. He's not the most explosive guy, but he's so crafty with it, it doesn't matter. AM Production said if Zoo gets in foul trouble against Jokic, we're cooked. Probably. Pokemon Let's Play said defense is goof. We just need better. Defense is good. We just need better. Mio said Shai also played a bunch of off ball yesterday in the first half. Wonder if they're testing something. Probably you got time to experiment with a team like that. Jonathan Ing said, I feel like almost every time in the last few years the Clippers struggled when Jokic was off the floor. There have definitely been times where they lost those minutes anyways, and it was kind of inexcusable. And that's part of the reason they lost a few of those games. Because how many games straight did the Denver Nuggets win against the Clippers? I'm going to look that up right now, head-to-head record, because they didn't beat them for about 2 years, right? It was bad. So they had lost 8 straight. That's what I thought it was. Denver at one point won 8 straight before the Clippers beat them December 6th of 2023. That was the game where Kawhi and Zubac, and this is the only time I've seen it, shut down the most lethal pick and roll in the game between Jokic and Jamal Murray. Kawhi's defense was unbelievable, navigating the screen, and it was really impressive. Clippers won 111 to 102. And then they beat them again without Kawhi at the end of the year. Seemed like they finally figured it out a little bit. But yeah, the Denver Nuggets have been a thorn in their side since the Clippers blew that 3-1 lead in the bubble. Sorry to bring it up. Pokemon Let's Play said offense down the stretch. Yeah, if you want to check, I did a film breakdown. Clippers up 9, 3:52 left on every offensive possession they had down the stretch before overtime against Phoenix, and where that game was lost. That was it. Jonathan Ing said Shea probably picked up that yo-yo dribble from CP3 and kept working on it. That's part of the reason when people talk about Shea and, if we just had Shea still. Guys, he doesn't develop at this rate, I don't believe, if he doesn't go to OKC. Number one, getting way more minutes that he probably would have gotten as a Clipper. Number two, he got a year with Chris Paul. That expedited his learning curve. Rizzy got a burner, said James Harden was blowing by Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. I'm not moved. Shea should be able to do that. Man, Aaron Gordon is tough. That's a crazy play. Mio said, watching Shea play, you can see all his vets who influenced his game. He's clearly a student of the game. This guy works as hard as anybody. We did know that part. We just didn't know he'd get to MVP level. Everybody said all-star. I could see it. No one said top 3 player in the league. Reezy got a burner, said Shea and Booker look to pass first so far this season. I think Booker was getting locked and clamped at times by Norman Powell, honestly. The Clippers overall just played really good defense against him. No, it was 8 straight games. Denver beat the Clippers. JJ the Boys said, I'm confident on our defense against the Nuggets. Problem is, if Jokic is going, and like someone brought up earlier, if Zoo gets into foul trouble again in the first quarter, they are in real trouble, guys. I don't want to see Kai Jones on Jokic. I don't know what's going to happen. I just saw Mason Plumlee bully a play where he went to the free throw line against Kai Jones. That used to be an understudy for Jokic back in the day. Jonathan Ing said, I agree with you, Adam. Players develop based on situations, circumstances. Harden wouldn't be MVP had he not left OKC. Same with Shea leaving LA Clippers. Yeah. Like Shea would not be, I don't think, this good, this fast if it wasn't for the vet leadership of CP3 and just going to a place where he could play right away, heavy minutes. But, yeah, it's all, there's no way to feel good about this right now, guys. Nate G said, I feel like if Sky Jones had an offensive package, the Clippers could have that same potential as OKC and Boston. No. Kai could also guard 4s. Kawhi comes back. I'm just imagining, though, Zoo 20 and 10 tomorrow. If Sky Jones had an offensive package, great. He doesn't. If a frog had wings, what is even the point of saying that? Ugh. Yeah. If Kai Jones was Anthony Davis, the Clippers would be better. Cool. He's not. Fashizzle Badizzle said Kobe Brown minutes against a bigger team. I don't know, man. Kobe Brown really hasn't earned much yet. I'd play Nico. Reezy got a burner, said, I want that 2020 rematch, Harden versus Shea part 2. Yeah, Houston did beat them in that first round series. I want the rematch against OKC for the Clippers if Kawhi is available in a first round series. Like, if they got OKC in the 1-8, but Kawhi was healthy, they could do more than just put a scare into him. Reezy Got a Burner said, we got Shea weakness, though. OKC fans hate him as well. What? Make sense. Make readable, legible senses. Guys, please help me out here. All right. On that note, I think I'm going to peace out, take a shower, watch the Dodgers game, enjoy my Friday night, prep more for tomorrow's game. 2 p.m. tip-off, pregame starting at 1. I think on the radio side, we'll either be on AM 570 LA Sports or the Patriot AM 1150. Just follow me at Follow Adam A on X. But pregame will be on the YouTube side right here, Clippers Talk YouTube channel. We will be back here at 1 tomorrow. Clippers in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Someone's saying, actually, Russ going to help us win the game tomorrow. Hope so. I'm Adam Osland. Till tomorrow, Clippers in Denver. Hope you enjoyed the preview. Cut down the turnovers, Clippers, please. Talk to you then.